All right, Kyle Watson, we are locked in. We're ready to go.
Let's do this.
All right, how are you doing today?
I'm great, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate you doing this. Obviously, you're super busy running a very successful jiu-jitsu school here in St. Louis. So anytime I can get somebody to take the time out, I mean, I'm just so thankful.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. I was looking at the list of people you've had on, many of whom I respect quite a bit, so I was pretty honored to have my name thrown into that list.
God, man, I appreciate that. So let's pick up kind of, we were talking a little bit about competing, and you're kind of in a low moment there. Because you're one of the most active in the game for sure, I would say, as far as I mean, when you think of like high level black belts, I mean, people always, you can always kind of like the cyborgs and the Gordons and different things like that. But like you're running a school and like you're still regularly competing. I can't think of too many people, at least here in the St. Louis area, who's doing that.
Hmm.
So like, what keeps you driven as far as to keep doing this? You know what I mean? You've done a
Yeah,
lot in the
yeah, man.
sport.
It is tough. It's a balancing act, and I'm juggling a lot of time. But there's just a couple of things that's just really important to me. It's like one. I talked to you a little bit about it at the tournament. It's just that I feel it's really really important. I don't want to sound like self righteous about it, but I'm just saying like I want to lead by example. And I feel like you know I want my students to know that I've been there and kind of trust in my instruction and my knowledge because I'm always testing and revamping and trying to evolve and growing. It's not just like you see some black belts that get their black belt and they just kind of go through the motions and they get fat and they
Yeah.
just kind of do it. I really want to be kind of in the trenches with them and really lead them. And then also too, I just have that. I say all the time, I still have the fire in my belly. Once I retire from MMA, I still need to you know curb my appetite for
Yeah.
wanting to test myself. I'm just a competitive person
Yeah.
and I love that moment. I hate the anxiety in the bullpen, but then I love that moment where it's just the ref waves you on the mat and it's go time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's just like nothing else matters at that moment.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's it's definitely there's something to be said about that, like to keep that fire in your belly because I mean a lot of people lose it,
Hmm.
like they don't want to compete anymore. I'm kind of in that boat, like so after competing for 10 years plus, doing MMA at a pretty high level, I just don't really feel the need to prove anything.
Hmm.
I feel like with competition there's always like that need to prove something,
Hmm.
whether there's like validation just to yourself, but there is some sort of like external validation we're all looking for because it is
Sure.
nice to get that win, you know what I
Sure.
mean? So yeah, that's something I've kind of been struggling about, so I was really wondering like what your thoughts were on that because you're so active still.
Yeah, it is weird because I was reading someone the other day had posted something on Facebook saying that don't worry about losing. He goes the feelings of loss last as long as the feelings of a win, and it does. Unfortunately, that's the
It
truth.
is.
It's like you win and you're happy for a few days, like oh you're on cloud nine, and then it's like okay what's next,
What's next?
and then
Yeah.
you lose and you're bummed for a week, but then it's kind of like okay what do I do now, so. I don't know. It's just like I feel like too. One of the things is I feel like it just gives me a drive when I know I have something to prepare for. Because I feel like when you just go in the gym and it's easy to get lazy and go through the motions and keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
But then when you have good training partners that can show you, hey, that might not work,
Right.
or they start kicking your butt, or you just schedule something. Sometimes I've just like needed a kick in the butt and just said, you know what, I'm just gonna schedule something, then that's going to make me train because I don't want to lose,
Right.
so I just like it'll make me come in here and push myself. And then I noticed like doing that hard 5 6 week or camp, depending on how long. Some people do it longer than that, but like I get in better shape, I clean up my diet,
Yeah.
I get better at jiu-jitsu, and then it's like a cycle where each time you add another layer. So that's definitely one of my motivating factors.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely agree with that. It's nice to like set like a hard date. It's like, all
Hmm.
right, I need to be ready for this
Hmm.
at that time. And for a lot of folks, that could be anything. It could be I don't know, a marathon or a 5K or anything. But like setting a hard date for something you have to prepare for, I think that's definitely a good strategy for sure. Um, let's go back a little bit though,
Sure.
because I mean, you did fight for a long time,
Hmm.
and you've been an athlete for probably your whole life, I would imagine.
Hmm.
So I'm just curious about that. Like, when did like what was your start in athletics? Like, where did you begin?
Yeah, man. My story's pretty simple. I've told it a bunch of times, but it's like it's pretty simple. But from a small high school, my town had 1,000 people. I had 55 in my class, crazy small. And
Yeah.
so didn't have wrestling, didn't have football. I played baseball and soccer pretty much the whole
Okay.
time. Played soccer for like 11 years, and always was just interested in fighting. Would always like watch all the Van Damme movies and
Yeah.
just and I literally like I when the UFC came around, I would go up to Family Video, and I would buy the used VHSs. I'd take them home. And never any idea that I would do that. It literally
Yeah.
was just because I liked to watch it, and so I would go bring those home, pop them in, watch it. And I was like, man, I want to do something like martial arts at some point. Not thinking about the UFC, just martial arts, and no outlet because I was from a small town. So I went to college, went to the University of Illinois, and as soon as I got there, started trying out sport clubs.
Yeah.
Eventually found jiu-jitsu and fell in love with it. And then I was like, you know what? I didn't. It still wasn't at the stage it is like now. So it wasn't. I wasn't wanting to fight because, I was like, oh man, I'm going to be in the UFC. I want to fight just to see if my jiu-jitsu would work, and get that extra test. And just watching it on the videos, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
So I actually just started like messaging shows, and my first one, I actually fought on Dan Severn's
Oh yeah.
card in Fort Wayne, Indiana, called the Danger Zone, and I messaged him. I fought. It was in a bar full of smoke.
Yeah. I've
And
been
it's
there.
just, yeah, it's like so. Yeah, that was the start, and I got punched a lot. I won by submission, but got punched a lot.
Yeah.
And it was like after that, the adrenaline comes down. I was like, okay, that was kind of cool. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
And then just kind of went from there.
It's such a surreal feeling after a fight, especially your first one you win, and you like all of the endorphins start coming down. You start to hurt a little bit, but you're just so amped.
Oh yeah, the next day is the worst. It's like man, it's like I know I didn't get hit there. Why does that hurt?
Yeah, like, I don't
It's
remember that
yeah,
at
it
all.
hurts so bad. Yeah.
So when was that? When was your first fight?
I cannot remember.
Roughly?
It was either the summer of 2002 or the summer of 2003.
Okay.
I started training the fall of '99, and then so it was one of those two summers, either 2002 or 2003.
So you're already 3 or 4 years into your training before you decided to take a fight. And where was that at that you
It was
started
in
training?
Champaign, Illinois.
Champaign,
So
Illinois.
so yeah, it was weird because it was kind of difficult for me because it was a jiu-jitsu school, and they just and my coach was really good, but the focus was jiu-jitsu and jeet kune do. So so I had to I would go to Eastern and train in the wrestling room, and then I would go to Peoria to do my kickboxing. So I was driving all over the place to try to get the training in. So I was one of only a couple of guys from my gym that actually wanted to do MMA. So I was just kind of getting it where I could get it,
Yeah,
to train,
yeah.
so.
And during that time, I mean, yeah, there probably weren't like any MMA focused gyms.
Not really,
You had to go to the kickboxing or the boxing gym, and like I said, the jiu-jitsu school. I had one more question. What small town were you from?
Raymond, Illinois.
Raymond,
Yeah,
Illinois.
and it's like about halfway between Litchfield and Springfield.
Okay, okay. So you're just a soccer player, like some MMA. I remember being a kid in UFC, like you would hear about it. I'm from like backwoods Missouri, and there wasn't like any of that going on. So I can remember like kind of hearing about it, and as a kid, I remember thinking, I'll never fight. Why would I ever do that? I just remember it was just so scary sounding. Like Ken Shamrock was the man back then, and I was just like, I don't know, why would you ever do that? I don't want to ever get punched in the head. And then fast forward all these years later, I definitely did that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like people ask all the time, like, why would you want to do that? Why do you do that to yourself? And oftentimes I'm like, I have no idea. I actually was just looking at some old photos the other day, and it's like just looking at it, I just felt like that was a lifetime ago. I feel like I was a totally different person. It was
Yeah.
just crazy.
Well, when you just want to compete, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell people it was just a natural transition from wrestling. Like I wrestled in high school and a little bit in college. And it was just such a natural transition. Like when you want to compete, like that's probably one of the purest forms of competition you're going to find.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean everything's on the table.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's high risk, high reward. It's such a emotional roller coaster, but it's like, I feel like the highs of the highs are worth the lows of the lows.
Oh, it really is, dude. And I used to say that I was an adrenaline junkie, but I realized I'm much more of a flow junkie. I really enjoy just getting into that state where everything's just clicking. You know what I mean? Like the stakes are high. You can't think of anything else. Like you're just so tuned in, and afterwards, it's almost like a dream, right? It's like you're out of body that whole time, and everything's just going. And then when you finally come down, then you get all happy and stuff. And I thought it was the adrenaline I was chasing after, but it was just like that flow state.
Yeah, that resonates with me really well. That's pretty fascinating because I think I agree with that. I look back and the ones that you do well and you win, you look back and the ones I think that stand out is when you really got in the zone and everything just kind of came together.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you knew you won before you ever stepped in there. Such a good feeling. Now you've been on the biggest stage that there is. How far were you into your career whenever you got to the Ultimate Fighter?
It's funny you asked that. So I was older, so that was the funny thing is like I don't know if people know when I was on my season of the show. I think Michael Johnson coined the term, but he was calling me old balls because I was the oldest guy on the show. There was a couple guys that were like 18, 19, and I was like going on 30.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think I was 29 when I tried out and got accepted to the Ultimate Fighter, and I had overall I had 6 fights under the UFC banner. I had 4 on the show, and then a couple after the show, and but yeah, it was just like it was kind of bad. Not bad. I mean, I wouldn't change anything. Everything happened the way it was supposed to happen, but
Yeah.
I definitely was on my body. Like you could just start to tell when you can't keep up with the young bucks. I was still fine then. I mean, honestly, I felt like kind of my prime was like 28,
Yeah.
and then but once my body wasn't what really kind of started to slow me down. It was more that I had opened my gym and I started running my gym, and then it was like, oh man, I got this over here. I'm on the highest stage to fight, but I'm only training with my own students here, and I'm trying to run the business, and it was starting to really take off. So I'm like, man, what So
Yeah,
it
what
put
are
me
you
in a really
gonna do?
predicament.
Yeah, you see a lot of fighters that start a gym and it's almost the decline of their career
Mm-hmm.
because it just takes all your time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Tyron Woodley started his gym in the area, and there's kind of whispers, but he's never there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that's why he's able to compete the way he
Yeah.
is because he doesn't run his gym.
yeah.
So it's so surreal kind of sitting here with you now because what year was the Ultimate Fighter? That was it season 2? Your season?
No, mine was 12.
12?
Yeah,
Was it?
it was
I
12.
could have swore you're
I
earlier
had to
than
think
that.
about it. No, I was because I was in 2010.
GSP and Koscheck. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Koscheck was
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild, but it does feel like a lifetime ago. Yeah, 2010. It was the summer of 2010.
Okay. Yeah, I remember watching that season,
Mm.
and yeah, your jujitsu is just far better than everybody else's.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you just took him
Appreciate
down and just fucking
Thank you.
implemented your will.
Thank you. It's
Posed
kind of
for
crazy.
Will.
Like last night, Bruce Leroy fought, and he's still in there, and he was
Yeah.
on my season. That jerk. He's still in there, and I'm not. I'm jealous.
Yes. Well, how old was he whenever he was on?
He
there?
was one of the young ones. I think he was the one that was 18.
Yeah,
But,
he was super young.
Yeah, he was super young and immature. But hey, I'm happy for his career. But yeah, that was such a long time ago. But yeah, I love that. I mean, obviously, I wish I wouldn't have got cut from the UFC so early. But the reason why I say it happened for reasons because if I hadn't have gotten cut, I probably would have tried to still keep juggling like half-assing the business and half-assing training instead of whole-assing one of them. You know what I mean? So it's like, and for sure, like the gym is my longevity. Like it's,
100%.
the shelf life is so short for a fighter, and people don't realize that. Like if you really sit down there and do the math after taxes, you could work like a pretty decent office job and make the same amount of money.
You really can.
And it's just like you're taking this beating on your body, and I see so many. I would see so many athletes who are like, oh, I want to do that, because they kind of they make it look like this rock star lifestyle, and then they don't have a plan B, and it's like, well, first of all, it's hard to make it there, so you got to work your ass off and sacrifice so much, and then even if you do make it there, if you don't keep winning and you don't have a plan B, you're in trouble.
Yeah, man, it's a short life cycle, and so you kind of came up in the time. I started fighting in 2008, so I remember watching that season very vividly because like that's where I wanted to be at, and but that's a very short-lived dream for real. I mean, what people don't realize is that a lot of those guys are just broke, like not doing a whole
for sure.
like so many people just like barely making ends meet, just chasing the dream, and then when you get there, I mean, it really isn't that long-lived of a dream. Like it's some people make it, and some people make a lot of money, but you actually were kind of, I don't know, maybe the tail end of where like if you were in the UFC. that like it was a super big deal, like
Mm-hmm.
because there weren't, it was a very elite club
Yeah.
then, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then now there's like a shit ton of
Yeah.
dime a dozen. I've trained
Yeah.
with so many UFC fighters, it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. They're a dime a
No,
dozen.
I was actually thinking about that a few weeks ago. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, it like, and not saying like, I mean, it's still something to be super
For
proud
sure.
of, but I agree with you. I feel like it meant a little bit more because they just got so many more people and have passed through, and because the shelf life is so short, it just cycles and cycles and cycles. So many more people get there and what have you. But yeah, I feel like then I was just so blessed, and I was just almost in disbelief. I remember driving in my car from the gym to my home when I got the call that I was accepted, and I just, man, I can't describe that feeling,
Yeah.
and it was just awesome. I kind of, though, for my competitive side, like taking the business aspect out of it, I was bummed because I know why. I know I'm super boring fighter. I'm like a very like do as little as you can, like don't throw a ton of strikes, try to drag them to the ground.
Efficiency.
Yeah, and I'm not like, super exciting. I don't take a lot of risks, so like it was just bad timing for me because I did pretty well on the show. I won my first three by submission, and then I lost a decision to the winner, Jonathan Brookins, and then I had a couple fights after that. I won one, and I lost one, but they had already kind of told my coach because that was the same time they absorbed the WEC. So
Okay.
not only was our season lightweights, but then they absorbed all the lightweights from the WEC.
Yeah.
So they told my coach kind of like, you were going to start cutting people, and then my first loss after the show, it was gone. But I knew it wasn't so much like they were just kind of trimming the fat, and
Yeah.
and I think part of the fact that I was a boring fighter, not like, hey, let's go out here and just take a bunch of brain damage.
Yeah.
I was easy to let go.
Well, during that time when they absorbed the WC, I mean, that's when they got like Brian Stan, and he was out there just like throwing haymakers and putting people to sleep,
Yeah.
and that's what people love to see. And what I think in '80 was it Carlos Condit? I think he was at 70 still at that time. He's still at 70. But yeah, they had just so many exciting fighters who were willing to like put their brain on the line, and I'm just so conflicted with that.
Yeah.
Because did you ever start worrying about your brain?
I did, man, because I got a couple of knockouts. Like the guys who knocked me out, I got knocked out a couple of times, and they were all like tough dudes that knock a lot of people out. And probably had no business fighting. I fought Spencer Fisher, and I fought Bart Palashevsky, and and then I got knocked out in the UFC once. But I really that's kind of the thing. That was more my deciding factor. It was like, one, the business was definitely going, and it was pushing me in that direction. But I remember the conversation with my wife because after UFC cut me, and I kind of had a heart-to-heart with my coach, Mark Fiore. He was an awesome guy. And he said, hey, let's do this. Let's sign with Cage Warriors and fight overseas, and let's get back in there because Cage Warriors is just a stepping stone back into the UFC anyway,
Yeah.
or to get to the UFC anyway. So I was like, all right. So I signed a 4-fight deal with them. I'm like, man, I'll just travel around. I'd already traveled a little bit and fought in some different. I fought for Bodog. I was on one of their seasons, and
Nice.
got to travel and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I got to travel and what have you. But like, I was like, man, that's awesome because I was friends with one of the head guys, and he's like, yeah, just tell me the city you want to fight in. I mean, they're in like Budapest and Dubai and just
That's
all these
cool.
places. So the first one that I was on was Beirut, Lebanon, and so I was in the Middle East, and I was like, oh, let's do this. And I fought a tough guy. It was the main event. I fought a guy, I think he was like 18-5. And, it was kind of weird because the fight almost kind of went backwards. Like I got the better of him striking, and he took me down a couple times. So it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if it was the second or third round. I shot in for a takedown, and he went like this. And right as I drove, I hit his elbow, and it's
Oh.
huge cut, gash, just squirting blood everywhere.
Shit.
See my skull. And it was so frustrating because, like, it wasn't even he hit me, and it wasn't anything intentional. It just literally happened, and they ruled it a TKO. So anyway, they stitched me up, and then I came back, talked to my wife about it, and it's just kind of like one of those things where, because the plan was to win a couple, fight in their like 4-man tournament, try to win their lightweight belt, and then get back in the UFC. But if you think about it, I was already 31, 32,
Yeah.
and that would have been another 4 years,
Right.
whatever, probably, or three
2 or
years,
3
3
years at
years, yeah,
least.
probably 2-3 years because you fight 2-3 times a year. So a couple more years, and then there's no guarantee. So I just sat
Yeah.
down, and had that heart to heart with my wife, and she's like, "Really, babe, do you really want to do this?" And I was kind of like, I don't know. If I at that time, like, man, if I ever want to have kids one day, I want to make sure that
Yeah.
I have my wits about me, So.
Yeah, I really started worrying about my brain a lot. I've never been knocked out in a fight before. I definitely had like a flash knockout in practice. One time he got hit, just dropped to a knee, came right back up. And I definitely had my bell rung a few different times. But yeah, once I started worrying about my brain all the time, it just changes the whole ball game.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um, Now, yeah, dude, elbows, quick little cut like that,
Hmm.
just in transition.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's gotta be
That's
frustrating.
frustrating. You
Yeah.
know, hey, no, hats off to the guy. He's tough, and but it's just, you know, you hate going out with like that, and that being your
Yeah.
last fight, you know.
Yeah,
So
because 30 is not even old, right? I mean,
yeah.
30, 31. I realistically, like men, we hit our physical prime usually about like 28 to
Mm.
34, 35-ish. I think of like some of the most recent, like more recent champs, like Tyron Woodley, for example. I think he's like 35 or
Mm.
36 right now, still killing it.
Yeah.
But when you compete for so long
Yeah.
and it's hard on your body, like
Yeah.
your body can only hold up for, probably 10, 12 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is the mileage. It's just like, just between, you know, having all those fights for, you know, that long, and then you know, I was always doing jiu-jitsu in between. Like I
Yeah.
was still competing like very regularly. You know, I was still, I mean, even the year I competed a lot, the year I was in the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
Um, excuse me. So it's just like, I think now the you know, the wear and tear is like kind of adding up. I know I can do jiu-jitsu for a long time
Yeah.
and keep competing, but man, the MMA, it was just, after a while I noticed like a lot of people were like, oh, you know, after you turn 30, your metabolism changes and this and that. And I didn't really notice like a physical decline at all until like, I remember specifically the year of like between 32 and 33. I just felt like, man, the injuries nag a little bit longer,
Yeah.
and I just felt a little slower. And then now I'm kind of in one of those years too, where like right now I feel like, oh man, I turned 40 this year, and I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling it. So it's okay.
So what do you do for like recovery? Do you have any protocol?
That's the problem. I don't.
No
That's the
protocol.
problem. No, I mean, I put that as one of my goals this year, to spend more time. But honestly, up to this point, really nothing. Just listening to my body. Like if I'm beat up, I'll take some time off.
Some
But as
rest.
far as like rehab, man,
Yeah.
I was like really not doing anything. My trainer's always on me. He's like, dude, he's like, it's hard for me to work with you because it's like every time we should be just lifting, like half the time is spent like trying to fix things that are wrong with you.
Yeah.
So, but my goals in this year, and I have been actually making time to, you know, do a little work. I got some, you know, pretty tough elbows right now. So, but yeah, other than that, I don't really have a structured anything. I
Oh
just train,
man.
man. I just
Yeah,
train.
we got to get you some sort of recovery protocol,
I
dude. Some
know. I
cryotherapy or
know.
foam
I
rolling.
know. I've been feeling it lately, man. So I got to do something.
Yeah. Have you tried the cryotherapy
Yeah,
place
I
up
have. I
here?
have. They've let me come in a couple times, and it's great. Yeah, it feels great. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever tried floating, like
Yes.
the float
I'll
tanks?
tell you what though, man. I have a little baby bladder, and the one time I floated, like it was awesome for the first like 15 minutes, and then I had to take a leak, and I'm like, all I could think about is like how bad I had to get out and use the bathroom. So it was not enjoyable. I probably would give it another try, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I could last an hour.
Yeah, yeah. They had me go to the bathroom beforehand, so I
Yeah,
didn't do that.
yeah,
But I felt like the magnesium just feels so good on your
yeah.
muscles. I had a terrible neck crank, and I couldn't get into a massage therapist in time, so I just went and did floating.
Mm,
And the magnesium felt really good on my muscles.
yeah.
It's a good way to go. I
I'm
like
I'm
it.
willing to, yeah, for sure, to give it another try. I remember one thing that was nice. Like I know some people hate ice baths, but
Those are
you know,
great.
I don't. I just feel like I don't have time to do it now. But one of the nice things when we were on the show was that we had a little bat phone, and you could just kind of call and order whatever you wanted. And so like every day after training, they would have like an ice bath ready for you.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I remember that being awesome. But now it's just like, man, I don't. It's just one of those things where like when you're super busy, and I'm not like acting busier than anyone else. Everyone's busy, but I'm just saying like when you shuffle things around and prioritize, it seems like rehab or things like that are always something like, oh, I can do that another time. You know,
Yeah.
you push it to the side. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, health tends to go to the wayside a lot of times when
mm,
people are prioritizing different things, especially when you're running a business, right?
mm.
I mean, your phone's probably went off
It's
through.
been vibrating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, like people are always trying to get a hold
yeah,
of you, right?
yeah.
So, yeah, I like cryotherapy. I don't do it often. Do you use the sauna much? Do you have a sauna here?
No, and it has been. I've shopped on it. So it's something I'm entertaining. I still got several rooms in here that I haven't figured out what I'm gonna do with yet. And I've thought about it. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the sauna. Like
Mm,
10 or 15 minutes of the sauna
mm,
after training is like one of the best things you could do, just from a
yeah.
longevity standpoint.
I think I'm jaded on the sauna. I mean, I for sure I like it, and I've done it other times since then. But gosh, I think Matt Hughes ruined it for us. Like he used to torture us. Like
Yeah.
yeah, he had, when one guy had a fight, he would make us do like mandatory team sauna. Everybody would go in, and you can't leave until he says you could leave.
Oh
Oh, it
man.
was awful, and he would just keep pouring water on it, swinging a towel. I mean, there was a couple times I was sitting there that I literally thought like my lips were starting to burn off of my face. Like it got so hot in there with like 20 dudes in the sauna,
Fuck,
and
dude.
just kept pouring water on it. He's like, nope, we're not leaving until I say it's time. And
Yeah.
oh man, that sticks with you.
Dude, well, one, that's a huge sauna.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Like it's like well, maybe not 20, but like let's say
But
like
still.
10. But there's like two rows. There's the
Yeah.
lower row and an upper row.
Yeah.
And oh man,
He's an
but
intense dude.
yeah, super intense.
Yeah, man. He just had a bad accident not that long. I guess it's
Mm.
probably been a while ago
Yeah.
now.
Hmm.
Man, I just try to keep track of the timeline. But yeah, so you probably have a lot of crazy stories like
Oh
that,
my
right?
gosh. Oh my gosh, man. It's so wild. I won't get into them, but like how it kind of played out though is like, when I accepted the position to come down here and start teaching there at the gym, it was on that old military depot.
Yeah,
And
the hit
that's
squad, right?
yeah,
In
yeah.
Granite City.
Yep, and they had they converted the barracks into dorms,
Hmm.
and I was actually the first guy to move in because I'm like, man, it's right across the street, and
Perfect.
yeah, it's perfect. So, but imagine, I mean, at any given time, that whole span I was there, we had all kinds of fighters from like every state. We had all kinds of international guys come in. Any given time, there'd be somebody from Australia, someone from Germany, someone from Finland. Just all these people would come in, and they would stay there for anywhere from a couple weeks to like 6 months. Some guys stayed there almost the whole time I was there. Like we had one German guy that came back and stayed. He'd stay for like 6, 9 months at a time, and so it was like, if you can imagine, I mean, it was like college dorms all over again,
Yeah.
and but with like fighters full of testosterone. So it was like work hard, train really hard during the week, and then crazy weekends.
Oh
Like
yeah.
just get nuts, like play hard. And I have so many crazy stories, like so many stains in my car from
I can only
blood, puke,
imagine.
different things. I mean, it just gross.
Dude, testosterone and head trauma. Like you got that's a recipe for disaster right
Yeah,
there, dude. Guys going crazy.
for
Yeah,
sure.
the hit squad was probably a crazy time at that, during that time because I mean when Matt Hughes' name was still
Hmm.
attached to it and it
Hmm.
was super new. I don't think there were a lot of camps in the country where people could come and stay.
Mm-mm.
And then I guess that was probably not too long after Militich, like that camp probably went away. So
Hmm.
people were just looking for another hard nosed camp to travel to.
Hmm. Yeah, and it was wild. We got everybody from like, some people that came that just wanted to see if fighting was for them, and then
Yeah.
there were some people that came there that like, already had a ton of experience, were super tough. But like, hats off to the team that was working there, and especially Mark Fiore for kind of holding it together. But man, I think during the time I was there, I think last count was we sent 13 or 14 people to the UFC during like a 3.5 year span.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
legit.
was pretty good, and but there was no shortage of like when you go in there, there was
Oh yeah.
hard training every session. I think that's what took the toll on my body because, just no disrespect to Matt, but Matt ran it like we're just gonna be tougher than everybody, so we're just gonna have hard practices versus like the more
Yeah.
John Danaher was my coach on the Ultimate Fighter. His approach was very like systematic and efficient and trying to like not like save your body and like we still trained hard, but it was just complete contrast to stuff. And I was very like, we're gonna be in shape, we're gonna be tough, we're gonna be mentally tough, and so it was good, but I think that's what really put the mileage on my body because we would do 2 sessions every day, Monday through Thursday. So it was always like conditioning, strength and conditioning in the morning, and then it was either live sparring or
Yeah.
it was live grappling with punches. And then we do Friday full MMA gear, and then Saturday training as well. But it was just like doing 2 a days every day for like 4 years. Because I was expected to do it because I was a coach.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, oh well, you're a coach, you should you got to lead by example. So it was one of those things where, like 2 a days should be like a training camp for something. I was doing 2 a days for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
That put a ton of
That's
mileage.
I mean, you're fighting
Yeah,
every day.
yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I guess that makes sense. That's how he grew up in that military system where
Mhm.
they were just banging. Like it was him and Tim Sylvia and Robbie Lawler and just
Mhm.
all those dudes just in there fighting like crazy. So he brought you down to coach.
Hmm.
Where,
Yeah.
where,
Go ahead. I'm
I'd
sorry.
say where were you at before that?
So I was still in Champaign. I actually had like I stayed there after after college. I got a pretty lucrative office job and was just training on the side and still fighting and just through a couple of what I would say is meant to be but weird coincidence things happening. My name got dropped by multiple people to the group when they were opening the gym and said, "Hey, this guy's fairly local. He's been, doing pretty well for himself, and let's bring him down here." So I was at my my number got passed on to Coach Fiore, and I was sitting in my office working. I was operations manager for the Kaplan Center in Champaign, and got a call, and he's like, "Hey, this is Mark Fiore from Matt Hughes' gym, and we heard about you. I want to know if you'd want to interview for a position being a head jiu-jitsu coach." I was in disbelief. I was just kind of, so it was pretty wild, man. I was in a 6-year relationship that was kind of at a crossroads anyway, but we had a couple of dogs and lived together, and
Yeah.
and I left it all. I said, you know what, I'm out, and packed up all my stuff and left Champaign, came to St. Louis, because I was like, man, I can have this awesome office job, and they were even grooming me for a director's role in Chicago where it had been like high stress, high pay. I was like, oh, I could do this.
Yeah.
I could live my dream, maybe make a little less money, and it was the best decision I could have made.
Yeah,
Moved down
dude.
here,
The dream is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, you have such a successful gym here
Thank you.
now.
Thank you.
So once you left that gym, is that when you started your gym, or
So
what was that timeline like?
I moved down in 2008, and I was there opening day, ribbon cutting. Robbie was there, Matt was there, like all these people. I was still in kind of disbelief, and I was there for a while. The problem was, and this is no, I will say there's no finger pointing. I should have known all the time in my back of my head it was too good to be true. But the gym had a bunch of great guys. I've said this many times, but a bunch of great guys that all had great intentions, but none of them had run a business before.
Yeah.
So they were catering to fighters, which
Cannot
no
do.
offense, no offense. I mean, if you want to run a business, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult, and it was just like kind of like it was all fighters, and half of them were paying, and just it's how it goes. So it started to like hemorrhage money left and right, and the guy that was kind of the financial backer had gotten to the point where he's like, all right, man, I'm done with the play money. It's real money. So we gotta,
Yeah.
it's like either someone's gonna buy it or we have to close the doors, and a buyer came in, and bought the gym, and at that time I was like, you know what, I just feel like I want to have full quality control. I want to be able to like make decisions that like I know that this decision is the best for the students, and no one can tell me that's not the best decision. And it was scary. It was super scary, but I was
Yeah.
just like, I know I can do this. I'll work night and day, and and make sure there's no possibility that it will fail. I was scared, but I just knew how hard I would work. I knew my
Yeah.
work ethic, and so I just took the risk. And then that was 2011, summer of 2011. I opened my first gym. It was like 2,600 square feet, one bathroom, one unisex changing room,
Yeah.
and then outgrew that in about 2 years. Moved to a 6,000 square foot place, and and that was awesome. Put showers in there. It was nice, great, but it was still, my landlord always made sure it was clear that I wasn't in his grand master plan, and I wanted to be able to control my own destiny. So I had been shopping for a while, and then came across this place. It's 10,000 square feet, and
Yeah.
and rehabbed it, and that's rocking and rolling.
Yeah, man, this is a huge facility.
Thanks, man.
How long did the rehab take?
I think I started. I think the rehab started at the end of September, maybe early October, and we moved in February 26th was the opening day.
Oh yeah, so you were
Yeah,
going hot and
yeah.
heavy to get this ready.
Yeah, and it was tough, man, because I was running the other place, and it was like every day I was there, then here, there, then here, and orchestrating all the construction, and just kind of, oh man, I'm so glad that's over.
I bet. Yeah, but when you're a competitor, I mean, a lot of competitors don't have that business acumen. But if you do have that business acumen, it's I mean, it's almost it is a recipe for success, right? Because you can take that same drive and that same discipline and just apply it to a different area in life,
Yeah.
which is business,
Mhm.
and like success is inevitable.
Yeah, well, my coach always used to say, success leaves footprints, and it for sure does. So, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can look at what other people are doing well. But also, I was pretty blessed in the sense that that job that I had at Kaplan was like the parallels between that job and this job are pretty amazing. Like it was a very customer service based role where I was constantly working with students. They were just college students that wanted to take test preparation classes. So I was selling classes, and then making sure that they had a great experience and that everything went well for them. And then like the transition was so natural. I mean, literally like so many things I did there. It's like the exact same. It's just making sure that you actually treat them like people and not a number, and like see what they want, like
Yeah.
see how you can help them. And they come in with something that they want, some kind of problem they want to solve, and as long as you are genuinely invested in solving that problem, they'll be a member with you for a long time. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because a lot of people, I mean, you walk into a new gym and it's scary, right? You
Hmm.
don't know anybody. You feel like you do kind of stick out like a sore thumb because
Hmm.
you're new.
Yeah.
But it's so important just to have like a welcoming atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've been pretty blessed to have like awesome coaches that help me, that are really, I put the coaches in place that are like just like very good people, that they're super passionate about it, so that they kind of give that passion, that
Yeah.
vibe off, and I think it's one of those things where it also comes down to your gym philosophy too, because I don't want to take away from anybody, because I think everybody has success in their own way, and everybody has their own gym approach. And there's some gyms that are just like straight up like, I'm a competition school. I run it for competition, and that's what they want to do, and they create world champions, pan champions, whatever, and that's great. And I definitely look up to those guys. My approach is a little different. I don't use that as my metric. I think I don't know who said it. It might have been Stephen Kesting or somebody. I was reading it or watching, and he was talking about how, like, think about on the way to black belt, like all the things that all the positive things that can affect your life. Like by the time you get your black belt, you for sure will experience those things, like weight loss, fitness, maybe a little bit better at self defense, confidence, tons of friendships and networking.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on and on. So I feel like my approach and like my metric is like getting the most people to do martial arts the longest period of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know that if somebody comes in and they just do it for a couple of weeks and they quit and then go do something else, they didn't get the value. Think about, like, for you, like doing jiu-jitsu, like how long you've done it, how amazing it is, and like imparting that on someone, if they
Yeah.
can stay all the way to black belt or even purple belt or brown belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the experiences they're going to get out of it. So I think sharing all those positives with as many people and getting them to stay and do it, not even from a business standpoint, I'm just saying from the aspect of longevity, like other than the wear and tear on your joints,
Yeah.
there's so many positives you experience along the way. So if you can get the most people to do it the longest amount of time.
Yeah, I love that philosophy because I mean, even the wear and tear on your joints, like that can be mitigated with like kind of your style of training. Like you don't have to train as hard as some of the young guys do. You know what I mean? You can flow roll or just work on your technique and different things. So there's ways to kind of get around that, because I say all the time, I'm going to train until I die. Like I'll just always train. Like there's
Get buried in your gi.
yeah, for real, dude. It's just the only way to go. But yeah, the more I guess the more I get embedded into the jujitsu community, as I've kind of transitioned away from like the MMA side of things, and I've just experienced like there's a whole spectrum in the community of jujitsu. I mean, you have some schools that are extremely formal, so formal to where like you're not allowed to approach a higher belt and even ask them to roll, or like you have to go face the wall if you're gonna tie your belt.
Yep.
I'm not so hip on like that formal. I need a few notches down.
Yeah.
But then you got some schools that are the complete opposite, to where it's just like we're all just bros and like no one's in there. Like
Yeah, they're just changing their clothes out in the open and
yeah.
not wearing shoes in the bathroom.
Yeah, no, like we don't call people professor
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. So like
Yeah.
I've been able to experience this kind of traveling and going to some of these other gyms, and it's a crazy spectrum that you see out there.
It is, but it's such a cool community, and it's like one of the things I think is so neat is just how open it is. It's like I have so many students that have traveled and be, hey, Kyle, do you know a gym here? We even started a map, like, so I polled my students. I said, hey, if anybody's had a gym that you went to and you had a great experience, not just a good experience, like a great experience, great people, and you recommend it, tell me, and we'll put it on the map so that whenever we have a travelers list. So any of the guys want
cool.
to travel, they know, hey, if I'm going to Portland, I'm going to go here. If I go here, just to
Yeah.
kind of help out. So I try to like always create like different resources for my students. But back to the point is that just the community. It's like you rarely will go a place and not be welcome in, kind of open arms, So.
Right. Yeah, I went to Chicago a few weeks ago, and I went to the gym was called Brazil 21.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
great guys there.
Yeah. The one of the owners is him. It's a husband and wife who own it, and he's the head ref for IBJJF.
Yep.
So I got yelled at a couple times in there, which I felt pretty good about that, coming from, I mean, you're familiar with St. Charles,
Yeah, of
MMA. I
course,
mean,
of
we're
course.
probably on that opposite end of like pretty lax.
Yeah, yeah.
And training MMA for so long, like you just kind of go for things that probably aren't allowed in
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. So there's one position I was stepping over. I went for a knee slice and he stopped it, so I kind of stepped back over, and obviously like the knee bar is there.
Yeah.
I wasn't going for the knee bar, but I
Hmm.
touched the knee bar, and as soon as I touched it, I got yelled at.
He's like, no,
Like, nope,
no,
nope, nope,
no.
brown belts only. You're
But you got to go in the corner.
well, yeah, he was nice to me.
Uh,
I should have, yeah, he was super nice. And then another time I touched a heel hook on a blue belt, and yeah, you're just not
Yeah.
supposed to do that. It's just
Well, my thing on that too is, and again, it's not when I say it, it's not like I think everybody. That's the cool thing about running your business. You have the freedom to run it how you want to run it.
yeah,
But my approach, I just feel like if you like looked at my numbers of people, like I would say like 10% or less compete. So it's like I don't know why you should conform everybody's grappling ability to the idea of competition because it's like one of those things too where there's so many joint locks that are like looked at like frowned upon and like have kind of a bad rap, like wrist locks and different leg locks, and it's like if you and you're rolling with somebody and you guys both understand the mechanics enough to not get hurt, then why shouldn't you be able to go for it? I can understand like not going for heel hooks on white belts because they might turn the wrong way and hurt themselves. But I mean, if someone's not planning on competing, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But let's take that out of it. Why should you limit their ability to be the best grappler they can be? And I think you can be the best grappler you can be if you can do pretty much anything within safety margins.
right.
So that's kind of my thing.
Well, yeah, 100%. And I mean, I got his point because I mean, obviously he's in that box of IBJJF, and it's like brown belts can do this, and you're only supposed to do this and this, and also from the safety standpoint, I pride myself on being like one of the safest persons to like people to roll with in the gym. So a guy coming off the street, he doesn't know me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's
So
true.
you got to keep safety in perspective. So I understand that, but I like to just like I'll touch something, but I won't ever like fully lock it up. It's like I'm all about like position over submission. So like I have this position, I have control. It's like you and I both know if I really wanted this, I could take this right now. But at least we just acknowledged it. But yeah, I feel like the whole Midwest, and maybe it's just the city, I feel like we have a weak leg locking community.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's growing. And I think people are looking into it because I feel like they know if they don't, they're going to get passed up and they're going to get caught. And excuse me. But yeah, I think so. I'm not really sure exactly. I think there's more than one factor, contributing to that. But I think overall, and I think probably too because you see, that shadow on leg locks and that stigma for so long, and I think that where there's way more jiu-jitsu schools, there's more places where the progressiveness can creep in, whereas like I think it's slowly coming to the Midwest, but you know what I mean, it's like there's probably still that stigma because it just takes a little bit longer for things to kind of hit here.
Yeah, I wonder where that came from. I mean, why is it looked as like a dirty little thing?
Well, I heard, and I don't know if this is true, so please, if anybody listens to this, don't quote me on this. I just heard this, I don't know if I read it or whatever, but there used to be that old like feud between like BJJ and Luta Livre. It was like looked at as like gi versus no gi, like
I'm not
from
familiar
Brazil.
with
Yeah,
this.
so Luta Livre, I mean, in like free fighting, like in Portuguese. So it was like no gi guys, like in gi guys would like always squabble and the Luta Livre guys, I think, were pretty versed in leg locks, and so it was like looked on as like dirty because like the gi guys like had this feud with like oh no gi's dirty, leg locks are dirty, that's just what I had heard. I don't, again, like I said, don't quote me on that, but I'm sure there's some old school guys out there that could probably confirm or deny that. So.
Yeah, it's just so fascinating. But I mean, I quickly realized that when you want to compete at a high stage, like a high level, that leg locks are just there.
Yeah.
Sure, I went down to Austin and I got invited to the On It Open, and I just got to see some really high level no gi grappling, and that really changed my mind. Like quickly, like, oh, you have to be doing this. Yeah.
Well, and even myself, like I let my guys do pretty much everything. I'll even let some of my blue belts like heel hook. I just tell them like catch and release and make sure it's on somebody that knows the mechanics. But other than the heel hook, my guys can go over everything. I let them do everything. Knee bars, toe holds, whatever. I mean, not everybody's good at it, of course, because they're still learning everything else. And I feel like just like that whole thing is like try to get good at the basics and escapes first before you're like focusing on all these crazy
Yeah.
things. But um, I think one of the advantages I have of being an old man's division is that I think most of them kind of come from the same era, so they're not that great at leg locks either. I feel like I'm okay. I'm okay at them, but like not my forte, not my area. So it's kind of nice because, like I said, I'm fighting Master 2 now, so I'm usually fighting other guys that are kind of probably like
Yeah.
similar in approach.
Yeah, that's
So
funny, man.
so
Are you gonna do Worlds this year, Master Worlds?
I don't know, man. I want to stay busy, but man, I just have so much going on. Like I'm getting new mats here, so that's gonna knock out some time of like taking up the old ones, putting on new ones. Um, I'm selling a house. I'm working hard to get that on the market. So just like a bunch of like other irons in the fire. And I sat down with my wife and went through the planner because she's busy. She's an ER nurse and she's got works 12-hour shifts. So I got to like time it right with the daycare and kid and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So we sat down, went through every weekend for the whole year, and like, hey, when do you work? When do you don't work? And then I just circled all the ones that are maybes. So there's quite a few.
Yeah.
But I just got to wait a little bit longer and see how the year plays out. And but I'm for sure gonna do something. Like Austin was my first one. I usually like to do 4 or 5 decent sized ones, and then hopefully I get a super fight in this year somewhere, like a get asked to do one there. But I'm not sure what's next. I think these next couple months are busy. I'll probably do New York in April. Maybe I'll probably do Chicago in May. Maybe Master Worlds. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You've done a lot of traveling with the sport.
Yeah.
What's been like your go-to place that you like? Either you have went to quite a few times with
Mhm.
competition, or you'd like to go back to.
I mean, hands down, people always ask me like, "Where's the best place you've been or best place you've been?" It's definitely Brazil. Like I've been
Yeah.
to Brazil 5 times. Always, and it was before Hoyler moved to the States, so it was when Hoyler was still in,
Okay.
main Gracie Humaita, and
Yeah.
2 of the years I got to go. Actually, he took us to Grandmaster Halo before he passed away. We
Oh,
went
that's
to his
cool.
house, met him, ate lunch with him,
Yeah.
saw the place where all of them grew up training, and
Oh.
so got to do some pretty cool stuff. But yeah, trained there with a bunch of bad dudes. Got to train with Salo. Got to train with Rafael Lovato. Like just
Yeah.
But
Savages.
yeah, but just been around a lot of cool stuff. Been to Russia, Japan, Australia, Middle East, UK. I taught some seminars over there. Yeah, just all over, man. But
Yeah,
and then
dude.
the states all over. But I'd say out of all the places. I mean, I fought in Costa Rica. I fought on the beach. They set up the ring on the beach for Bodog, and I fought on the beach. That was cool.
Yeah.
But hands down, it's definitely Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah.
That's definitely high on the list. You speak Portuguese?
No, no. I've tried so many times. I know enough. Like when I was down there, I could get by in like a taxi or a restaurant by myself.
Yeah.
Like I can string together some pretty terrible sentences, but I always try to pretend because one of my main training partners here is Brazilian. You'll probably meet him today. His name is Junior Silva, and I always pretend like I can speak it, but he makes sure to
Let you
let
know.
me know that I don't
That's
think
funny.
but that's funny. We always joke, we always hassle, like we're always making sure to bash the Brazilian refs for cheating us gringos. We always make sure we say it loud and clear around him.
Yeah. It's prevalent. It is prevalent. That's a real thing.
It is a real thing. I know it's funny,
Oh my
but
goodness.
yeah, it's funny too. This weekend, I told Sanders I got a grudge match against him today when he comes in because he misscored one of my students' matches. So I
Oh yeah.
said, yeah, I told him it's on today.
He's put together a good team out there.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
man. So what are your thoughts on kind of along the lines of competition of like the recent uprising of just more and more submission only tournaments?
Man, I like it. I think more competition's better. I think just bringing more variety and bringing more just acclaim and uh, just interest to the sport, I think is good. I don't really get into too much the debate. I mean, I think there's statistics out there that show what has a higher submission rate and what have you, and like whether just like IBJJF tournaments or some of these submission onlys. Um, I don't really get into that argument. I think it's all good.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's just like hey, whatever you're gonna compete in, understand the rules, train for it that way, and then
Yeah.
go compete. But I think anything as long as it's well run and they treat the people fairly, I think bringing some more noise towards the jiu-jitsu community, I think is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of that format, like
Hmm.
because they're usually like longer matches,
Yeah,
and then you don't have to
yeah,
worry about points.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
usually pretty nice. But I don't know if I have a preference over one or
Hmm.
the other. It just seems that those, I mean, you just see more and more of those popping up. So
Hmm.
I kind of wonder. I mean, I don't think IBJJF is really going to go away,
Mm-mm.
but
No.
I just kind of wonder like how much steam will these other ones, make, like the
It's hard,
EBIs.
man. They're a machine, and it's like as much as you want to complain about them, because I like there's been times I've been on the wrong end of it and the right end of it, and like there's so many things that are worthy of complain about. But I mean, they do it the best, they run it the best, and they get the best competition. Like the best people show up, and now some of these other ones that once now that they're being able to throw money at them, they're getting the big names going to
Yeah.
some of these other shows. But you know, I think it's all good. I'm excited about it. I want to compete in some other ones too, but just sometimes it's just hard, like schedule wise to
Yeah.
and then flying all the way out to California and what have you. But
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude, they're throwing some real money behind jiu-jitsu
hmm.
nowadays. I
Hmm.
think it's the World Series of Jiu-Jitsu grappling. Like, I
Hmm.
think, but I know for, I believe it was like blues and purples they could win like $10,000. I
Wow.
think it was even more than that for browns and blacks,
Yeah.
or maybe it was 10,000 for browns and blacks and a little like 5,000 for the others. But either way, 10K to win a tournament is pretty
Yeah.
legit.
Well, before I think it was just such a niche that like so small that I think that people didn't want to throw the money at it, but now they can see like how the interest in the sport and how fast I mean it's like wildfire, man. It's just growing everywhere,
Yeah.
and so I can see how there's more money popping up in it.
Yeah, I wonder if, and I just had this thought. I wonder if it's growing so much because of social media.
Maybe. I think it's too though, just that whole exponential factor. If you look at like, think about it when by the time people get like, it's almost a frustrating thing and a good thing all at once. It's like a double-edged sword. But if you think about it, like there's so many people that I think by the time they get their purple belt, maybe a little higher, like high purple belt, low brown belt, they're kind of like, man, this is awesome, and I've kind of already dedicated this much of my life to it. I was like, I want to do it for you. Just see that natural transition where people are like, well, that looks like an awesome job. All you have to do is just teach a couple hours a day. That's what they think.
Yeah, that's
You
all
know what
it
I mean?
is.
But so many people like open up gyms, and that's where the exponential factor comes in, because it's like, let's just say you create over however many years, you create 10 to 20 guys that go off their own way, and they open a gym that has let's say
Yeah,
anywhere from 50 to 100 students, and then they have a few that go and open a gym, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's just
It
it's
is a
crazy.
double-edged sword, though, right?
Yeah, because
Quality control.
yes, it's frustrating because that's one of the things too, is like, and it's hard for me to say that because I started teaching as a I think it was a two or three stripe purple belt, but the situation was different. I was doing it as a trade off. I was teaching in exchange for Muay Thai instruction,
Okay.
so it wasn't like I was opening up a gym. I wasn't making any money off it or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I started teaching that way. But I look at it now, and now it is like that. There are a lot of purples and browns that are just like, oh, I'm gonna open a school because I know how to teach jiu-jitsu. I'm gonna open a school,
Yeah.
and I heard from I was listening to another podcast the other day talking about how the failure of how some people think that you can make a business around a technical skill and nothing
Yeah.
else. So like you just have a technical skill, so you think that'll make you be able to run a successful business,
Yeah.
which is often not
But you know
true.
nothing about
Yeah,
business.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Sometimes I feel like the double-edged sword of it is that like not only that it waters it down, but I think that people, if they have a bad experience with martial arts, they'll stop doing it. And like I was
Yeah.
telling you before, like with kind of my approach, it's like if someone has a bad experience and then they never do it again, they lost that lifetime of benefits they could
Yeah.
have had
Yeah.
versus going to a legitimate school that they would have stoked that fire and like kept them.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't there. Even like I've had so many students that like, because we're close by colleges. I've had so many people train here for a while, get the bug, love it, and then ask me, hey, Kyle, where should I train when I move? Because they graduate or they get a
Yeah.
job somewhere or they're in the military or whatever. And then they're still training. I'll see them on Facebook
Yeah.
posting their next belt or whatever. And that's awesome because I'm so happy, even if it's not with me, I'm so happy that they just keep going. But someone that might go somewhere and have a terrible experience, they might not do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's a shame because I mean, for me, the more I've kind of just falling in love with it. It's all about the community
Mm-hmm.
and just getting people to do it and
Mm-hmm.
growing in the community.
For sure.
But there's sometimes with some of these other gyms or just some of these old school guys, it's kind of like it's like a club,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want other people
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah. That is frustrating. And you're right, like about people kind of coming in and feeling like all nervous the first time. You know, it's like I try to always remember that you know, when people come in, they don't know what to expect, and they don't know all the etiquette, and they don't know all the rules, and they don't they're a little timid. So you got to be more outgoing with them, and you know,
Yeah.
get them to understand that, you know, and feel welcome, like they're not the outcast. Like, oh, you're not just the new person, that you're the fresh meat, and
Yeah.
this is the club over here, and you got to earn your way in. I mean, that's, you know, I've heard that so many times at their schools, that like if you're a visitor and you go in there, that they just try to beat you up, and it's like,
Yeah.
man, how is that going to help them be interested in your school or the art itself? You know?
Yeah,
So,
it's not.
so,
Yeah, that was one of the things that really stuck out when I went and visited Brazil 21 in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I had to shake everybody's hand and
Mhm.
introduce myself. And
Yeah.
like it was just kind of just the culture there.
Mhm.
They're super friendly,
Mhm.
super friendly. I had a thought, and oh, I know what I was gonna say. Yeah, I know what I was gonna say. So yeah, I started coaching like 2 years ago,
Mhm.
but I just teach kids class, and I didn't realize, I thought I knew jujitsu until I started coaching it,
Mhm.
and then I realized I got away with a lot of things because I was just like athletic,
Yeah.
or like I was taught how to do it, so like subconsciously I kind of knew, but I didn't know I didn't have a full understanding because I wasn't able to verbalize it
Mhm.
or teach it to somebody else.
For sure.
And then teaching kids class for the past 2 years has just revolutionized like my whole game.
Yeah. Well, I can give you, you know, commend you quite a bit, because, you know, I hear that's pretty rough for the teaching kids class.
It's a lot of repetition.
It can be, yeah. So hats off to you. But yeah, I agree with that completely. And that too, I think is one of those things where I think it's got to be the right time in your career, because you know, like we said before, is like if you start coaching, sometimes your own training can take a back seat. So it's hard. So you might miss some improvement there, but then you improve in other ways, because I think you really like it's one thing to know how to do a move, but to describe it in depth enough for someone else to understand it, not only mechanically, not only like the how, but the why you would do it.
Yeah.
And that requires a much deeper understanding. So if you want to be able to answer their questions and teach them effectively, you got to know it at a deeper level. So I think that helps a lot of times.
Yeah, it's definitely helped a lot. And I think of, like you mentioned his name earlier, John Danaher, right? And you've said a few different times like you like to lead by example, but like that guy can't even roll, and he's by far one of the best coaches in the country. I think
Yep.
most people wouldn't argue that. He's put together just such a good squad, and it's just because his level of understanding is just
Sure.
so deep.
Sure, but I will say he is an animal too, though, because he was still rolling
Was
during
he?
RC. Oh yeah, every day, every round, and people all the funny thing about that is people always ask me all the time, it's like, oh, how you roll with a ton of people, like who's the best guy you ever rolled with, and definitely roll with guys, like I said earlier, I roll with Salo and just and some other like super good guys and stuff, but definitely John's the best I've ever rolled with.
Really?
Like, yeah, it was like toying with a child. Him, to me, it was like, I tell people all the time, like the first couple of weeks, it was like, and I felt like I was one of the better jiu-jitsu guys on the show as far as
Oh, you were.
holding my own. But he literally, like in a 5-minute go, would like tap me like 5 or 6 times.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like that, especially the first week, and then it started to get a little better, a little better, a little better, and then by the end, the last couple of weeks, I could make it out of a round without getting submitted, but it was like drowning the whole time.
Dude, I've been there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
but that's an amazing thing, is like I tell people that because just because it's just that's what makes him more even truly unique and amazing, is that he was like, his legs were so messed up, and he was like, kind of considered cripple, and he could still just go on the mat and just destroy everybody.
Yeah.
And now he can't, because I think his hip's fully, shot.
Yeah, I think he's in a bad spot there.
But then he was kicking some ass.
Yeah,
So.
I saw a picture. I think it was an old picture where he's just so jacked when he was younger.
Yep, he was a bouncer for a really long time, and he was pretty ripped. He was a power lifter, and But yeah, I think some of that stuff took its toll.
Yeah, yeah. Have you went up there and rolled with any of his younger guys at all, or?
No, after the show, I went up to TriStar and trained, and hung out with George and got to train with a bunch of the guys up there. But a lot of them are heavily influenced. A lot of them cross train at Henzo's too, and
Right.
go back and forth. But no, haven't been up that way.
Yeah.
But I stayed in communication with him for a little while after. Actually, I didn't talk to him too long ago, but I was trying to get him down here for a seminar, but just too busy. All of a sudden,
Yeah,
all this
man.
stuff
If you can
going
get
on.
him in for a
Yeah.
seminar, that would
Yeah.
sell out so fast.
I know. Well, and it was one of those things where like every time I talked to him, it was like, oh, I'll get back to you. I'm going to coach Gary Tona at this competition, and then I follow up with him, and then it's like, oh man, I'm going with Eddie Cummings to this competition. He's like, let me
Yeah.
get back to you. And it's just like, kind of like, hey, he sounds a little too busy. I'll just, not worry about it right now. And but yeah, he's putting out some great instructionals, and he's an evil genius.
Yeah.
Like he knows what he's talking about. I was lucky on the show to get not only have his brain, but Greg Jackson was there at first, like when we were first just in that first couple days of the show, but just seeing those kind of minds, like
Yeah.
it's just like, and then getting to work with Faraz as a hobby GSP's coach, it's like, man, just absorbing those, like some of the stuff from those guys is just amazing. Those guys are just some
yeah.
of the best jiu-jitsu MMA minds out there.
Yeah, man. Those guys are they're all very cerebral with their approach, and yeah, they're systematic. I guess is a good way to put it.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's been about an hour. I want to be respectful of your
Yeah,
time.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna leave the floor to you if you want to tell the people about your gym, how they can come check it out, or your socials, or anything you want to plug.
Sure, man. I appreciate it. Always thank my my students for the support. My wife and kiddo, they definitely are my main motivation, and my sponsor Shoei Roll, and thank you for allowing me to come in and chat with you a little bit. It's like like I told you the other day, I don't have any trouble talking. Like, unfortunately, my students probably agree with me. They probably sometimes, like, I'll make videos to put on of technique
Yeah.
for Facebook, and I'll like, oh my god, that video was 10 minutes. I was talking that whole time. It's like, it's like I can tell people like rolling their eyes. Yes, Kyle, you do talk a lot.
You need
so.
to know the why.
Yeah, exactly. So I talk a little too much, but I appreciate the opportunity to let me chat a little while. But yeah, my gym, WatsonBJJ.com. WatsonBJJ.com is the website. I let people come in for a week for free to try it out. And it's an awesome gym. It's a good vibe. I tell people all the time, it's not an alpha male place where people are trying to see who the tough guy is. Is very welcoming. It's very team oriented. I definitely preach mentorship here, so definitely check it out. But I would also say, for people, I mean, most of the people listening probably already have a gym, but I would say, even if it's not my place, go find a gym, go find a jiu-jitsu gym, go find a martial arts gym, Muay Thai,
Yeah.
something. Martial arts is an awesome community,
Absolutely.
and even if it's not my place, do it somewhere, because it's great for your life.
Go move your body, man.
That's right.
Yeah, well, now that you said that, I was actually going to ask you, but you brought it up anyway. Are you going to do more instructionals or anything? Have you thought about putting out an instructional, or?
It's funny you say that. Yeah, I've been working on the outline for a couple years. I'll do it for a little bit, and I'll be like, I have this topic that I feel like hasn't been done, or hasn't really been done in depth, and I feel like I understand it pretty well. So I'd been making notes, and every time I will like revamp a couple ideas from it, I'll go back and write it down, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't really work anymore, and this works.
Yeah.
And I have enough material that I could do like a 3 disc set, but it's just like everybody's putting stuff out now, so it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm entertaining the idea, but I'm so busy, and it's just, and maybe sometime.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see what the future
yeah.
holds.
For sure, man.
All right, Kyle.
Thanks
I
again.
appreciate it again, brother.
Thanks you so much.